Yo, what is going on, guys? Corey, welcome. Episode 12 of Bear Side of the Mat. My name is John Bear, alongside my co-host, that Matt85. What is going on, Matt? How you doing?
Hello, hello. And I got a question. What you gonna do, brother, when you like our wrestling chat and you want to follow what we're doing and see more of our content?
Make sure to follow both of us on our Twitch pages, John Bear, twitch.tv/ John Bear, and then twitch.tv/ that Matt85. And make sure to go follow us on YouTube or subscribe to the YouTube channel of Bear Side of the Mat. We do put these episodes up on YouTube. So this should be up shortly, probably within the next day or so. And make sure to go subscribe. Make sure to get you guys keep yourself connected.
Yeah, I got a little I guess tease. I would like to put up a little video, which I believe I will, to our YouTube channel about how I think I guess WWE should be run from the standpoint of uh, what they should be putting on their Raw and SmackDown shows and what they should be putting on their pay-per-view shows, because Vince seems to be having a crisis right now about what matches should be where, and we don't really have time to cover that today. So I figured that'd make a good solo blog on our YouTube channel.
Singles match with that
Yeah,
Matt
singles
85.
match.
I need to upload a singles match at some point myself. Just
I
there
think
need,
you should. Yes.
there needs to be some other newsworthy stuff besides um besides just the like normal WWE sucks during the not the product itself, but just
The practices.
the non yeah the ethics of everything, because we've gone over that enough. But
Hmm.
but anyway, so we're gonna start off our show with what are you watching in wrestling. To be honest with myself, the only thing I really watched this week was the horror show at Extreme Rules. Obviously, watched AEW. I didn't catch NXT last week, but I did catch snippets of it. I had it
Did you end
recorded.
up watching TNA?
No, I did not end up watching it.
Okay.
I'm not sure if the show's online available anywhere, but if it is, I kind of want to try to find it. But no, I still haven't gotten a chance to watch it. But there is some good buzz around Impact Wrestling right now, so it's good buzz too. It's not bad, so it's kind of nice.
As for myself, one thing I want to say really quick, this, I guess, yeah, this morning when I was working, Talk is Jericho had a new episode. He was talking with Sonny Kiss, and it was
Really,
really, really, really, really interesting to me. Um,
I was gonna say I imagine that's gonna be interesting, not just because of Sonny's wrestling career, but also uh, Sonny as a personality. And
there's a,
a lot of people need to know more about Sonny.
yeah, they just really, really quick takeaways. One is that she she or he, okay, so that's the main thing. uh Sunny Kiss describes herself, I guess, as gender fluid. She does not care if you call her a girl or a guy,
That's right.
uh at all. So Sunny said that in the locker room sometimes people call him girl, some people call him guy. uh some of the announcers call him a girl. JR calls him a guy. And I guess people were getting on JR about that, I guess, for thinking that he was just transgendered, but he's not transgendered. He's just a feminine homosexual.
But guess what, folks? Sometimes JR is not always wrong.
Yeah, yes, exactly. That's what Sonny was like. Get off his case, guys.
Like everyone loves to point out how JR is wrong on Twitter, and it's ridiculous. Like, but that was a big part of it. A lot of people were talking about that last week, and Sonny has set the record straight before as far as that goes with JR and what
Yeah,
JR
Sonny.
calls Sonny.
Sonny said that it was one thing about Sonny. That's another thing, actually. Sonny is not full African American. Sonny is his name Sonny is short for Hussein because he is Muslim, or what'd you call it? Middle Eastern, I guess.
Okay.
His father's Middle Eastern. His mother is no, his mother is Middle Eastern. His father is half African American, half Native American. So a lot a lot of ethnic diversity.
Yes.
And he has a lot of support from his friends and family. Um, yeah, it's just really interesting, and I can't even get into all of it, but that it's worth listening. But as far as what I was watching, which is what we're here to discuss, I want to highlight the Edge and Christian show. If you have not watched this show, it's totally worth watching. This is a skit comedy show on the WWE Network with starring Edge and Christian. I'm pretty sure they're just making up all the skits and everything themselves.
This does not I'll butt in for a second.
Yeah.
This does not feel like Vince McMahon comedy.
No, not at all. Vince McMahon's in the first episode and kind of in the first episode of the second season, but I feel like after a couple of minutes, he just I don't know if he's ever even watched the show. But yeah, there's a ton of other throwbacks besides just as in Christian. There's a current roster, former roster, really old roster. Yeah, Tommy Dreamer's on there. They have what's his name? The vampire.
Gangrel.
Yes, Gangrel.
Every once in a while.
So yeah, first season was very quirky. It had a lot of moments that were very hit and a lot of moments that were very miss for me. But that made it worth watching just because once or twice per episode, it was just like, oh my God, that was hilarious. And the rest of the episode was just kind of like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But the second season, besides the first episode, the rest of it is just gold. All of it is gold. Every single moment of every episode is gold. And I there was a couple of months when it was coming out where I just could not wait for the next episode to come out. I was watching it live as it debuted. I believe I was watching it with you at the same time.
Pretty much.
Man, it left me wishing there was a season 3 because I could just watch that all day. It's great to even come back to.
I was gonna say that the best parts to me are okay. So like if you're not a wrestling fan, it's tough to watch it because there's a lot of wrestling references of the past, a lot of insider terms and stuff like that. But if you are a pro wrestling fan, it is like pure like it's goofy comedy, but it's also just like using wrestling comedy in just stuff like that. Like just like a small moment. Like there is a big skit in WCW with Hulk Hogan in the Dungeon of Doom, where he's like in this like tomb or whatever, and he comes up to this like this wall that's like spouting water, and he like tentatively goes up to it and he touches it, and he touches the water. He goes, "Ah, it's not hot," and it sounds like the dumbest thing ever, but at the end of season 1, Edge and Christian are doing a Indiana Jones spoof, and they do the same thing. Like they come up to like this wall with water coming out of it, and Edge goes up to it and touches it. He's like, "Ah, it's not hot." And I'm just like, oh my God, that's the like all the dumb stuff that they reference, like the good stuff, funny stuff. They've made mention to Dave Meltzer and stuff like that. Stuff that you don't really see on WWE TV.
That's definitely a part of, there's if they had 100 different sketch comedy shows that were kind of going from behind the scenes and insider terms and all that stuff, maybe it get lost in the shuffle, but this is pretty much the only one. So
yeah,
it not only that, it's done well. So it's unique. It's not like something you've seen before, and it's just perfectly is in my groove of what I like to watch. I think for me personally, they had a skit about Samoa Joe being a Girl Scout and selling Samoa cookies. And that was probably the funniest skit for me.
That was probably the highlight. That was probably the highlight for a lot of people.
It's smart and quirky and dumb at the same time. It's right up my alley. But yeah, it's worth going over since it's been a while since I've seen it. It's worth going over and watching again.
I think my favorite skit, it might not be my favorite, but it is it's in the same episode actually. It's where they're doing the will WWE talk about it, for season
Actually, yes.
two, and it was like a couple weeks or like a month after Daniel Bryan beat AJ Styles for the WWE title on SmackDown, and they just they had this big wheel or something and would come up with a topic, and they're just like, we haven't changed this thing in 2.5 years, so let's see what it comes up with. And they kept spinning the wheel, and it's just like, Ronda Rousey coming to WWE, and there's like, yeah, that's actually happened. She's been in WWE for quite a while now. Like, okay, Ricochet coming to WWE. He's like, yeah, this the same thing. He's been here for a little while now. And they kept spinning through stuff, and then it got to like Daniel Bryan making a return from injury, coming back at WrestleMania and winning the WWE title in a non pay per view event and turning heel. It's like, who came up with this stuff? It's like this thing predicted the future. And then they finally went to like Edge and Christian show season 3. It's like, yes, WWE will talk about it unless they see the budget for the Edge and Christian show season 2.
Yeah, that was a clever way to just kind of bring up topics of like, 2 years ago you would never guess that this would be happening, and it is.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's kind of what you can expect there. Plus, they
Yeah,
have a lot of just like goofy stuff. Like as part of that, they're making fun of how game show hosts a lot of times, if they don't know what's coming up, will just glance at the screen. So they're really noticeably goofily glancing at the screen every time it would stop on the next topic. And just little stuff like that. Everything there's so much packed into every episode.
pr-
Small things that you may or may not notice.
pretty much. All right, so Nats fan says that he is definitely done with WWE until October. After the World Series, I'd rather watch baseball than WWE. I'm still going to record AEW. Excuse me. Still going to record AEW. And then what happened to the WWE hacker? Well, it sounds like the WWE hacker was probably going to be Mustafa Ali, but it sounds like he returned on Monday Night Raw on Monday. So I think that's probably done with, unfortunately.
I personally, I think I've heard mention of the hacker outside of the actual show, but I don't know what people are talking about. I must have missed that part of whatever happened on.
Yeah, it was a thing on SmackDown. It was actually the thing that revealed that Sonya Deville kind of turned on Mandy Rose and kept doing stuff to sabotage the Otis, not Odie, Mandis and God, oh my God, Mandy and Otis pairing. And the hacker was the one who revealed that, but they never revealed who the actual hacker was. And now we're never gonna know. So
Probably not, although
yeah,
that'd be really strange if somehow Mustafa Ali was involved with Mandis and Odie.
well, the reason why is because they kept showing the logo, and it looked like it was that circular logo that he has, like on his mask and on his chest. Yeah, I think you're just cracking up at me,
I am.
Mandis and Odie. I don't know how I messed that up, but
You mixed up their names. It's something I would do. I can't believe somebody else is doing it. That's why it's so funny to me. What were we talking about again?
well, we're gonna change gears now. But
Well, yes. Something I wanted to say about Mustafa Ali, just because we got a few seconds. Uh, it's kind of funny that one of his gimmicks, I guess, his dress is coming out in a mask, and that's so appropriate now.
absolutely, he was ahead of his time,
Yes.
unfortunately.
I don't know if the lights help with the coronavirus, but it looks cool.
Yeah. Oh, and he botches it. Good MLB The Show reference for that. All
Let's
right.
let's jump into the horror show after this horror show of an opening segment.
All right. So switching gears here. Remember we were talking about that last week, switching gears?
Yes.
Almost as embarrassing as Jeff Harvey. Dude, we need to do like a full do you remember Mike Adamley?
I don't.
Okay. I wish he has got some fantastic YouTube clips of just now. Unfortunately, the guy, like, it turned out like found out a few years ago that he was a professional football player, and he has CTE. So, and I want to say that he might be dealing with dementia as well. But they brought him in 2008 to be like this, like, you know, like sideline reporter type of guy. And on his first night in the WWE, he was like doing this like lead in for this video package for Randy Orton versus Jeff Hardy, and and he says like he said something like, well, Randy Orton's got an opponent tonight at Royal Rumble, and his name is Jeff Hardy, and he's legit said Harvey, and then he messed up multiple times. He was a commentator for ECW. He was god awful, but he was like like you look back on it now, he was so bad it was funny. And then he was the WWE, he was the Raw GM, and it was so bad it was funny. Like seriously, like terrible, like that bad. But
I might try to look this up, or maybe we can start a Twitter account for it.
all right, so now that we'll get to the Extreme Rules horror show at Extreme Rules, I didn't include the pre-show match, but it was pretty good from Kevin Owens and Buddy Murphy. And well, since this is kind of a theme of the entire show, at least to me, not this isn't a full review of the show yet, but in my opinion, the wrestling on the show was fantastic. Actually, it was actually a very, very good show as far as the actual in-ring portion of the show goes.
Yeah, I'd like to say Buddy Murphy and KO are very good wrestlers, both of them. I don't know if they've actually gone at each other before. It was fun first match to watch, just to go over it really quick. And it's very much like WWE to put a really good match in the pre-show, simply because they didn't build it up at all.
Yeah.
And again, I might do this in a solo match on our YouTube channel, but I feel like to Vince, how good the match is doesn't matter as much as how well they are, how much they built it up, and not even how well they built it up, just how much they built it up. If you put a lot of time into building it up, it's going to be main event no matter who's there. And I guess in some senses that's hopefully why people are there, is for the build up and the payoff. But
yeah, that's the thing. Like if you can't have a pay-per-view and have 6-7 matches on it with no kind of build-up whatsoever. No one's going to really care about it. Now with WWE, they can get away with that a little bit better because WWE built itself on its brand, not necessarily its superstars. And that's one of the problems with WWE nowadays, at least in my opinion.
Well, yes, not to give too much away or to cut into our Extreme Rules time here, but I agree.
I did not watch Slammiversary, although I do want to check it out because I've heard good things about the show, though.
Also, might check it out because I've heard good things, but did not watch.
All right, so the first match on the regular card was a tag team tables match between the New Day, Big E, and Kofi Kingston against Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro. Interesting to note in this match, in previous tables matches over the past couple decades, you've had to like put both of your opponents through a table. In this one, you just had to put one member of the other team through a table. So I thought that was kind of lame. But other than that, I thought this was actually a pretty good opener with table matches. In my opinion, it's good for, you know, kind of car wreck kind of stuff, but both teams did a good job of kind of like trying to save the other. Some good table teases. In my opinion, if you have a table match, you got to have some table teases in it. Good, you know, it's a good match. In my opinion, for whatever reason, I just like enjoy table matches, but I thought this was a good match, good ending. Big time double power bomb through two tables. Kofi got spiked pretty hard on it, and we have new tag team champions. I was shocked by that.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things about this, and I like how you said good table teases. That is important to the match because that's what you're anticipating.
Mm-hmm.
You're not anticipating a false finish or 2 count. You're anticipating somebody going through the table. Although I will say they also had some bad table teases. I can remember, gosh, it was like 2 minutes into the show, somebody was up on somebody else's shoulders, and there was a table like 5 feet away. All I had to do was literally drop him, but instead he held him for like a full like 6 or 7 seconds until somebody could rescue him. Just because, I guess the timing was off, or maybe the where he was doing the or setting up for the power bomb was off by a little bit.
Yeah.
And to me, I was kind of at first was like, wow, this is going to be a really quick match, and then I was like, what's he doing? He's just standing there, and then oh, okay, it's a save.
Yeah.
Um, it's it's tough, I guess, because they have 4 people going at the same time. It wasn't like a traditional tag match. It was just like 4 people with teams going at it at the same time. So there was no tagging in or out or the traditional kind of timing that you would have. It was more of a fluid match
And
where you have to.
I think that makes sense to have it tornado style rules where you don't have to tag because technically it's a no disqualification match. So
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. It's just because it's not what they're used to. That makes it harder for the timing. I also want to say that Nakamura and Cesaro don't really seem like a traditional tag team, and maybe they need a bit more time together. But they're both such awesome wrestlers that they make it work.
yeah,
And the getting used to them, seeing them as, it was kind of weird with Cesaro and Sheamus. It took a long time for me to see them as an actual tag team. I just kept seeing them as 2 singles people put together. And I hope that Cesaro and Nakamura kind of turn into the Cesaro and Sheamus. As much as I like them as both as singles competitors, Vince doesn't seem to want to really push them as singles talent.
yeah,
But I like seeing them. They're doing good things. This is really fun match. I did like the ending, going through the double stacked tables, and I liked Nakamura and Cesaro winning the title. I wasn't thinking it was going to happen. I knew it was a possibility, but it's always a little surprising when it, I guess, changes hands.
yeah. I was a little bit surprised by that too. I just thought there would have been a little bit more build up, maybe another match down the line for them to win them. But hey, I mean, it is what it is. We got new tag champions.
That
Uh,
is kind of true. Now that you mention it, there wasn't a whole lot of build up to it, so Nakamura and Cesaro won a couple of matches going into it, but they didn't really talk much about it. But then again, I guess WWE doesn't really care about their tag division too much, especially at the moment. Sometimes they decide that they care about the tag division, but
yeah,
yeah, right now it's kind of like an afterthought.
a little bit. I gave this match 3 out of 5. I saw some people giving this match close to like 3.5 to 4 stars. I didn't go as high on it, but I thought this was definitely a solid opener, and a good kind of a surprising result to me. So good start to the show.
I personally, and it's might be due to the talent that's involved in the Cesaro Nakamura winning the titles. I'd go ahead and give it 4 out of 5 because I don't do half stars. It probably is closer to 3.5 for me, but I'll nudge it towards the 4 stars for me.
Gotcha. So good start to the show. The next match that we have on the card is the first of our 2 women's title matches. We've got the SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley defending against Nikki Cross. This I actually was really surprised at how good this match was. I thought that Nikki played a great babyface. I still prefer the old Nikki Cross crazy character. Before the match, we had a really kind of, at least in my opinion, a funny pep talk segment with Alexa Bliss and Kyrie Sane and Asuka before it, and I thought that was kind of funny. Um, it was kind of awkward. Kyrie Sane's like, "Well, if you lose, then you can still be friends." They're just like, "Oh, okay, all right." But um, I know that a lot of people. Well, I know that you didn't like the finish. I'm not sure about everybody else, but we can talk about that a little bit here.
Yeah, it's going to be really weird talking about a lot of these episodes or matches starting with this one because I how should I explain this? I guess I'll cut ahead a little bit, which isn't really a spoiler because if you're watching our review of it, hopefully you've actually seen the actual show.
Yes.
So there was a lot of matches with similar endings and similar things happening and I kind of feel like if this happens once, it's okay. Or even if a couple of them that are weird finishes happen in the same show but aren't the same thing is okay. But there's two or three matches that four matches that were very similar weird finishes, and this is one of them. So when I'm watching this is the first one that comes up. So I don't have the other ones to say, like this is the same as those ones.
Right.
But when you look at it in hindsight, uh, it is kind of the same as the other ones. So for this match, I really do like Nikki Cross, and I feel like she hasn't really gotten the big push that I want her to have, uh, just from being a fan, I guess. I do like her Crazy Cross a bit better
Hmm.
than I guess whatever she's doing now. I'm not even sure. They didn't really develop it that much.
Oh,
She just kind of
Alexa's
flipped.
Alexa's best friend cross.
Yeah, but she was Alexa's best friend and also crazy. In fact, they even had a big promo that kind of was her first push here was everybody just sees me as crazy and I have all this pent up energy and I don't know what to do with it, but Alyssa accepts me for who I am, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then a couple episodes later, that isn't her personality anymore. So it was kind of a weird thing. But that aside, I did like the little beforehand promo. I wasn't expecting it, and Kairi Sane kind of cracked me up before Nikki Cross went into the ring. I thought it was a good match in the ring again. Lots of good wrestling. I didn't like the bad finish. I guess it was art. What would you call it? The missed
Yeah, it was.
brass knuckles. It's typical. It's typical for the type of heel that Bailey is right now. So it's not really like a, oh my god, this is horrible type of thing. It was just, man, I was hyped for Cross. I wanted Cross to do it. I hate Bailey Dose straps, although I kind of figured she was going to win because she's got that nickname. She needs to wear it for a little while before they get rid of it.
Did Bailey also have like a tattoo like on the back of her head or something?
She had a tattoo somewhere. I can't remember, but I remember
Okay.
thinking that was weird.
Yeah, but when we never actually saw it, but she kept pointing out to like, yeah, I got a tattoo or something. And it's like, what? Where? What? Like we can't even see it. That's like
But
saying you
it's
got a tattoo on your bottom of your foot, and it's like, okay, we can't we can't see it. Why are you pointing it out?
in general, I kind of think that in general, where people get like lower back tattoos where they can't see it and people generally can't see it, it's like, why'd you get it then?
Yeah.
But yeah, and story wise, if they're gonna point it out on the show, why are they pointing it out if they're not gonna show it? Um, I it's kind of weird where they have help out there for Cross to make sure that there isn't interference, but then there still is. And
Yeah.
this, I guess I'll harp back on this later when we get to later matches that are very similar. But
Oh, we got a interesting finish. A couple interesting finishes coming up later.
as far as this one, especially when I first saw it, I was enjoying the match. I was enjoying seeing Nikki Cross, and Bailey were going at it together really good. There wasn't too many awkward moments. There wasn't really botches or anything. I was rooting for Cross, and I was thinking she was going to do it, and it didn't happen. And that's a little bit upsetting, but not in a bad way. If I'm into a match, like if I care that much about the match, they're doing a good thing. So for me, gosh, because of the bad ending to me, I'm going ahead and give it 3 out of 5. Love the wrestling. I mean, even if Cross was going to lose, I kind of wish it was a straight loss. I guess
Yeah.
they're keeping Cross looking a little strong because she was going to win if she wasn't knocked out by Brass. In fact, she would have won if it wasn't. Didn't she have Bailey tap, or was that?
No,
Yeah.
that was later on in the show.
Okay, so that was later on. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, but they still had Cross look strong. Hopefully, they get a second match out of it. Let Cross have a second chance. It's good to see her in the spotlight.
Yeah, in my opinion, I didn't dislike the ending. It's an old school heel ending. Uh, the heel gets away with some cheating. Bailey's a heel, so I'm fine with it. It didn't lead to a surprise roll up win, so let's go. That's great. Um, but yeah, I mean, just the heel using the brass knucks behind the ref's back. I thought that was fine. And interestingly enough, that she used it wasn't the brass knuckles, but it was the boss like brass ring finger thing, whatever.
Yeah,
that Sasha Banks wears. Not only that, she punched Nikki Cross in the stomach instead of the face, which I thought was kind of an interesting twist. Just a small thing that I liked.
I
Um,
did like that actually.
Normally, you see somebody go for the knockout shot right in the head, and we didn't see that. So we saw it in Nikki did a good job selling the ribs after the match and everything. But I thought it was a good finish. Bailey is still going to remain even more unlikable because of it. Nikki Cross still looks good in defeat. I thought this was executed really, really well. I gave it 3 out of 5. Nothing too crazy, special. I liked the neck breaker on the outside of the ring. I thought that was kind of an interesting spot. Bailey went like headfirst into the second turnbuckle, and it looked like she like knocked herself out cold. That was kind of crazy. But good match, good work from both. Really, all the ladies on the show had excellent work. We'll get into another match, a couple matches later, but really good stuff. I did not expect this match to be as good as it was, and it's always good to be surprised. So I was happy with it. Next, I didn't actually have a graphic for it, but technically, I guess completely forgot about this leading up last week to the our predictions. But we were supposed to have Apollo Crews versus MVP for the U.S. title. From what it sounds like, Apollo Crews has got the COVID-19. Hopefully, he is healthy or gets well soon, and we can see him back sooner rather than later. But they did a segment where MVP claimed that he's a real U.S. champion. They wasted 3 to 4 minutes. They're in and out. It was a thing. It was a time waster.
Yeah, I did notice that you missed the match when we were doing our predictions. I was wondering if there was something I didn't know about, and then when I saw that he just came in and grabbed the title and left, I was like, okay, so I guess John knew that was going to happen.
No, I had no idea. I just the website that I looked at didn't have that listed, so I didn't know that was not on the card, or I didn't know
uh,
that was that was supposed to be on the card.
yeah, so again, I guess in this case can't really be helped. Can't really be helped.
No.
They didn't. They wanted MVP to be on the match. Apollo Crews couldn't make it. They're not exactly sure, I guess, what they're going to do with the situation. So they just wanted to play into MVP being a heel, keeping us stable, strong. Gave him a few minutes to cut a promo, grabbing the title. We still don't know who's the actual title holder at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say, but the important thing for this for me is that MVP grabs the title and is self-declared title holder because again, this will come into play later in the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, in my opinion, I guess in that like to take that match's place, I guess we could have had Cedric Alexander and Ricochet versus MVP and Lashley, but I think the show had enough on it already, so that's fine that they weren't on the show. Although I'm all for Ricochet and Cedric getting some pay per view time, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it'd been interesting, but there would be absolutely no build towards it. Really, it'd been a weird kind of uh, side match, which they put on later on Raw the next day, anyways.
Right. So the image going around the world as we get to our third match of the show, it is the eye for an eye match: Seth Rollins versus Rey Mysterio. Spoiler alert: Seth Rollins does win. Unfortunately, this is all we get out of the ending for the eye for an eye as far as image goes. I think we were both expecting something a little bit nuttier and something ridiculous, but I think there's some good stuff that came out of this, and we'll get to talking to it. What did you think of the match itself?
So yes, a lot to talk about here. The actual match, I liked a lot of it. I liked a lot of the in-ring work. I liked a lot of the um, getting ready to try and go for the eye. I thought, I mean, in wrestling logic, it makes sense that if you're going to go after something, you go after it little bits at a time to weaken it so that eventually you can take advantage of it. That doesn't really, honestly, in real logic, apply to an eye. You can't just like poke the eye 4 or 5 times to get it loosened from the socket or anything like that. But that's kind of what they're going at.
It's not
Uh,
it's not like it was leading like to like you soften up the leg to go for the ankle lock
yeah,
or something like that. Yeah.
exactly. Uh, part of the part of this too, which also kind of leads to the ending. They had a couple of different props that they were teasing as possible ways to pry an eye out. The I guess the priors that they had at the beginning, the pliers, sorry, not priors, pliers that they had at the beginning. I don't know if that really could grab somebody's eye and yank it out, but at least you can kind of imagine, getting on each side of the eye and being able to yank it out.
I
The
I
oh,
imagine
sorry, go ahead.
I imagine a different tool would work a little bit better, but
Yeah,
I'm no expert in this. Seth Rollins apparently is.
why there's rebarb in a toolbox that was also right on top of a table that what I don't know what was going on there. There's like 3 dimensions of stupid here, but
Well,
there
the funniest part to me is just like I think both Byron Saxton and Tom Phillips are just like, wait, what is that? And then Samoa Joe excitedly is like, oh, that's rebar. That's rebar.
okay, there's 4 dimensions of stupid here. He's pulling a table out. I'm like, okay, we're getting tables out. But he didn't pull the table out for the table. He pulled it out because there's a toolbox on there. Why? I don't know.
It just
Why didn't they
happened to
just
be
have a
on there.
toolbox there? Why did Ray know there's a toolbox on the end of a table that's underneath the mat?
Yeah.
He opens the toolbox, and I'm sure there's thousands of great things in there to pry a person's eye out, like maybe a chisel or a flathead screwdriver. But he gets
Something.
a bar of steel out, which is a great weapon, but not for prying somebody's eye out.
Yeah.
And yes, for some reason, Samoa Joe knows it's rebar, which I don't know what identifies it over rebar or why Samoa Joe's like a construction expert, but at least somebody's telling us, I guess, what exactly Ray has.
Yeah.
But that's another tool. There is the broken bamboo from the kendo stick, which is probably the best tool.
I actually really like that. I mean,
I did too.
obviously Ray's got his hand covering it whenever he tried to go for Rollins' eye, but it looked like it was a brutal spot. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Especially with Ray kneeling on both of Seth's shoulders, which both pins him down and keeps his arms away. It was a good spot. I was like, okay, this is it. This is going to happen. Ray's actually going to make it happen for some reason. And the last tool that they used, which is the one that finally worked, was the corner of the steel steps. And here's another problem I have. There's no chance that's ever going to pop an eye out because it has to get behind the eye, which it's not going to do, and it has to pull back up, which they weren't doing. They were pushing down on it.
Yeah.
And there was one chance that I thought that it was going to at least make sense wrestling terms. I'd be able to suspend my beliefs. This is where Rollins was pushing his face into it, and for some reason he lets go and backs up. And then it looks like he's going to go do a curb stomp onto the corner of the steps, which may not make sense, but you put a lot of pressure onto that eye, and sure, I'll buy it. And his eye's going to pop out, but he doesn't. He stops, and then for some reason there was like a 10-second gap where Ray doesn't know that his eye's out.
No, he knows it. He's screaming outside the ring by the steps. Rollins doesn't know it. I think the ref kind of like pushes him away or something like that.
I'm gonna have to rewatch that again.
Yeah.
What it looked like to me, and this might be due with what I think this is mostly due to is that they had something else planned here. They filmed it and it got edited and cut out because apparently Vince thought it looked too cheesy, which is what I wanted. I wanted cheesy because that prosthetic that we can see on the screen right now, apparently that was part of a bunch of other stuff that was going to be under his mask to make it look like his eyes dangling out of the socket, and I don't know if they had blood squirting out or what exactly was planned on happening, but
yeah.
What they did go with, and I'm okay with, is barely showing you anything, showing you a tiny little bit. That made it about as realistic as you can get it without it being, I guess, TVMA. So in the realms of if they want it to look realistic, they don't want it to be cheesy, which I wanted it to be cheesy. But if they don't want it to be cheesy and they don't want it to be actual too over the top, then what they did is probably the right thing to do. It just looked a little weird because they didn't film it that way. They didn't plan it that way.
Yeah, I'm kind of on board with that. I think you mentioned earlier, and this is what I would have done for the ending spot, considering what we ended up getting. I would have I would have been all for Seth hitting the curb stomp on the steps, on that like little corner of the steps, because they can make it believable to where that could happen, I guess. Um, and then that would be the end of the match. That would have looked cool. That would have
I think so.
that would have put over the curb stomp because, well, that move was kind of killed dead by Bray Wyatt kicking out of 38 of them at Hell in a Cell. But
Very true.
but I think that actually would have looked a little bit cooler than what we got, because what we got was something that we already saw too. So it made sense as far as a like, you're going back and kind of looking back at the spot that happened, a couple months ago. It's just like, oh, yeah, this happened a couple months ago, so it could happen like this again. But we got it the same way. That part was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but that's very true. Not just that you're saying it, but that I didn't realize that's why I felt that way. It was basically the same thing. The last time it just blinded Ray, which is a little more believable, and this time it popped his eye out of the socket, which it's a little too much for me to believe.
Yeah. Overall, as far as the match goes, I thought this was an awesome like brawl. Like both guys did a pretty good job. They worked around the story too. Like they actually had some psychology of trying to go after the eye. If you're gonna have that, you might as well go for it. I actually thought this match was a uh, lot of fun personally, but I give this match 4 out of 5, despite the ending. The ending didn't help it. It didn't hurt it. It was just kind of there in the middle for me. That was really the only disappointing part of it.
Yeah, ending wise, I felt like it could have been better, but it wasn't bad. Uh, and yeah, again, there was a lot of good storytelling, a good moves hitting, good flow to the match. I liked the Falcon Arrow that happened on the edge of the mat. That looked pretty brutal.
The
I
hardest
like
part,
the
hardest part of the ring.
hardest part of the ring. Yes, Michael Cole. Uh, I like the sunset flip powerbomb into the side of the barricade. Also very cool. Uh, and yeah, what it comes down to me a lot of times is the flow and the story of the match, and if you can kind of work the match up to the high point and deliver. I felt like it did this well, not to perfection. So I also give it a 4 out of 5, solid 4 out of 5.
And again, this is, like I said, this has been a theme of the show so far. We're through 3 matches. The wrestling itself has been really, really good on the show. And then we're going to move on to the next match, which was the Raw Women's Title match. Oh wait, hold on. Wow, I am really far away on that.
Well, while you're doing that, yeah, like you said, I think when I had watched it before you did, and you were trying to gauge my opinion on it really fast, and I wanted to give you kind of a good opinion without giving away too much. I was kind of like, hard to say. I
Yeah,
like the wrestling of a lot of matches, but I didn't like the finish of a lot of matches. So that, I mean, I can come up with something, especially after giving it some thought. But that it's kind of weird. You want the whole match, and that's supposed to be the climax of the match, and it was not always disappointing, but not living up to what I thought it should be every time.
right. Um, so this is the match that I think a lot of people are really. I don't even know if it's polarizing. I think a lot of people really didn't like the finish of this match. Um, Again, this match got a lot of time. I said last week on our show that I thought this match would probably be match of the night as far as the in-ring work goes, and it's arguable that this was match of the night as far as the in-ring work goes. Just depends on what kind of matches that you like. If you like the brawls, then the Mysterio versus Rollins match was probably more up your alley, the tables match. But this was a good, solid, hard hitting back and forth match between Sasha and Asuka. These are the kind of matches that Sasha Banks puts on that really reminds people that she is really, really good. whenever she wants to be and whenever she's given a chance to shine. And for this match, she got a chance to shine, but unfortunately, we got a finish that kind of uh, is kind of the main talking point. But what'd you think?
This is another one I have a lot to talk about here. So especially as the climax of all of the negativity I have for the pay-per-view in total. I wasn't as impressed as everybody else is with the match leading up to the finale. I definitely wasn't disappointed. I didn't hate it, but I didn't find it at the same level as everyone else, and that's just a personal thing here, opinion. I did enjoy it. I liked a lot of what was going on. I liked. I thought the flow was a little bit slow. I thought it was lacking of high points or high spots, and I think so, but man, the finish killed it for me. So finishes, since you didn't completely describe it.
No.
Yes, this is so Asuka is making Bailey tap. Sorry, Asuka is making Banks tap.
Yes.
Bailey is distracting the ref, which again, Asuka has help on the outside, which is supposed to prevent Bailey from interfering, but again, it fails. Which again is something that happened before, and I hate when they're going to do the same thing over and over and over. So eventually, Asuka lets up on the lock that Banks was tapping out of. Banks got up, was, I guess, wandering around. Asuka got up, was going to hit her with green mist. Banks sees it coming, gets out of the way. The mist hits the ref. The ref's blinded, can't do anything. I don't remember if Asuka got a hit in or not, or if Banks just from that point hits Asuka, but there's nobody there to count it. So Bailey jumps in the ring, tears the sweater or the uniform off the ref, puts it on herself.
She hits Asuka with the belt in the back first.
Okay, so that's where it came from.
Yeah.
Then counts 3 for, or did she even drag Banks on top of Asuka?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, then counts 3. Then goes up to the bell ringer and demands that he rings the bell, so he does. Then takes the title, then gives it to Banks, declares her the winner, and they run off. So there's already interference that was supposed to be stopped on the outside earlier. There was already somebody who grabbed the title and decided that they're the champ, even though there's absolutely nothing ruling it earlier. There's already been several finishes that I don't like earlier. And this is just another one of all of them where I see a lot of really good in-ring work, and then it throws it out with a nothing happening finish. And apparently Vince had just decided last minute, hey, we're going to change this. I don't want Asuka to win, although he wasn't declaring Banks as the winner either. She just doesn't have the title now, and it's a weird way to do it. I know there's been times before where somebody will steal the title from somebody else and just hold it captive. I think The Rock stole Steve Austin's title and just held it captive for a while. But this was done in such a weird way where it's just like, why does this make sense? This match never actually ended. If it did, it would be a count out. That just because a ref wasn't there. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was part of it, and then the other part of it was like so many elements that they've used already earlier in the pay-per-view. I know they kept harping on using the plexiglass as a weapon in all the different matches, but that makes a little more sense to me because it is a weapon. Like whenever you're in Hell in a Cell, you're going to use the cell as a weapon,
right?
Or a steel cage match, you're going to use the steel cage as a weapon. So the boards being there, I imagine everybody's going to use that. But as far as story elements, I want to see it at least be a little different within the same pay-per-view.
Right. So this is 2 angles that are going to be on the same show on Raw. Corey says they are having a rematch on Monday. That is true. I believe that is actually a Vince thing too. That's Vince kind of, it feels like by the end of this match, Vince kind of booked something to lead into his TV show, which has
Yeah.
low ratings, which is something that
I want to talk about this
yeah,
again on our as a singles thing, but it
yeah.
does look like Vince is almost completely abandoning pay-per-views in order to try and get higher ratings on TV.
It's not so much that it's kind of like that though. You're kind of right. Like to me, like he held off Big Show versus Randy Orton because he thought that would draw some more viewers on TV, so he didn't have it on this pay per view, even though the build for it was definitely like this would have been probably main event of this pay per view if it was Big Show and Randy Orton on it. And so we got it on Raw, and we're going to be doing the same thing with here, Asuka and Sasha Banks. They'll probably be in the main event of Raw next week, or at least, one of the top of the hour matches or something, something that will put it in position to have to draw some type of good number. Um, so essentially, that's kind of what that finish. When you really break it all down and it comes down to one central idea, I think that's what it is. I give points for the finish for one reason. I've never seen a finish like I've seen a finish like it before, but not in that exact way. Like I've never seen another person just steal the person's ref shirt, take it off of them, and just count 1, 2, 3 themselves. It's just like that's so stupid, but at the same time, it made me laugh. But
It really well fits Bailey's character at the
it
moment. I'll
does.
give it that. I just really hate Bailey's character at the moment.
So
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's annoying the heck out of me.
yeah, and the thing is, like, it's a finish that ruined in my opinion, really good match. As it turns out, Asuka and Banks have pretty good chemistry. So I am very much looking forward to a rematch coming on Monday. And I get a feeling that we're going to see a clean win from Asuka on Monday. And afterwards, since nobody can be at ringside, afterwards we'll see something on the big screen where Shayna Baszler attacks Kairi Sane, and that's going to be the last we ever see of Kairi Sane in WWE. And that leads to Asuka versus Shayna Baszler, which should be awesome at SummerSlam. But then they'll have a DQ match that leads to a match on Raw. So, but
I was thinking with Baszler because they're showing her, especially when they built her as somebody who will literally bite the ear off of somebody else.
or
She would have been perfect for some sort of segment in
bite the neck.
the
Yeah,
neck. It was neck, yeah.
yeah,
She would have been perfect for some sort of segment on the horror show, but they didn't do that.
that's true. I noticed that too. But yeah, like I said, like the match itself was really good. Since I give out quarter stars, I'm going 3.75 out of 5. I thought it was a better than a 3.5 star match, but the ending dragged it down enough to where I'm just like, I can't go higher. I can't give it 4. So it's in between that 3.5 to 4 mark because I thought the work was really good. The finish, well, kind of creative. It doesn't help anybody, especially doesn't help Asuka. And it doesn't help Banks because she didn't win. So it's like both people, like that's the thing. The booking doesn't help anybody. And that's
Yeah,
that's really the kind of crappy part about it.
yeah. I don't think it was apparently very very last minute decision to change just an Asuka win to. I really think it's just extending it to try and create more better matches, high quality matches for um, Raw.
Yeah.
And yeah, the matches that build to another match that's a payoff aren't that great. Uh, and they're not supposed to be. They're just supposed to mostly tell story, leave you wanting more. What it did here, though, was give us what we wanted minus the ending. It doesn't really build to okay. I want to see exactly the same match, except this time we get a finish. I
I don't mind the programs that do have like a match with a non-finish because it leads into something a little bit more. It just depends on what it is. For this one deserved a finish.
Yeah, I feel like if it's adding a little something, like if there's two women having a match and they're like, oh, who's going to win? And then a third woman runs in and ruins the match, and now it's a three-way, then you're adding something. But if it's just two people having a match, and then they just decide, okay, we're going to have exactly the same match, except this time we're going to have an ending, hopefully. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like they could have just done like a rematch or 2 matches out of 3 or something like that. Would
Yeah.
have been a better idea. Personally, I give it a solid 3 out of 5. Uh, good wrestling. The ending changes it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like you said, drags it down a little bit, but I think it was solid 3 out of 5 for me.
Again, inventive finish, but it doesn't. The only person, I guess, the only person it really helped was Bailey at the end of it.
Yeah, it fit in with her character and just helps drive the point of her character home.
In a match between Asuka and Sasha Banks, the only person that looks great out of it is somebody that's not in the match.